he is in the television show that I'd like to talk about now, which is called Big Bet. So let me just throw some images up on the screen. Total gear change from music, I know, but In fact, while I'm doing that, let me play you the trailer for Big Bet, and then I will talk about it.
사업은 말이다. 총으로 하는 게 아니야. 신용으로 하는 거지.
Attention, please. This is Mr. Cha.
Cheers. 살인 사건이다. 예?
Yesterday, he stopped by at the crime scene.
You're quiet.
Mr. Cha. He was acting like he already knew what happened there.
Cha? Who is it? Is it Korean?
여기가 필리핀 최대 규모예요.
차 사장님.
He's connected to a lot of top dogs in the city.
It's an honor to meet you, sir.
뭐 하시는 분이세요?
코리안 데서 어떻게 왔어요, 업장에?
So you have to be really careful, hon.
또 뵙겠습니다.
필리핀에서 나를 이길 수 있겠어요? 절대 못 이겨.
Seems like it was done by a professional.
결국은 이렇게 되네.
You know who did it?
아직 마닐라에 있다. 네가 가서 받아와.
누가 현행범을 이런 식으로 데려가도 된다 그랬습니까?
세상이 다 그런 거야. 예수아.
차문식 씨 여기 계시죠?
나 감당할 수 있겠니?
Everybody fears this guy.
Please, don't do anything.
이제 알겠지? 네가 나한테 안 되는 이유. Hey, get out!
All right, that was the trailer for what has been my favorite show of 2023 so far. Although the first tranche of shows were in 2022. It's one of these things where there was 8 released in 2022 late on, and then early in 2023, the second 8 followed. There wasn't much of a gap between them. So 16 episodes in total. So let me just throw up some images on the screen. Okay, so let's talk about this particular show and why I like it so much. So, Big Bet, Korean television show, and credit where credit's due. I'm going to say this, Disney Plus, who made this show, and it's shown on Hulu. Disney Plus take, rightly in my opinion, a lot of flack because of what they've done to so many properties, and some of the content in the English language world that they've thrown out has not been, well, I'll be kind, has not been of the greatest quality. However, the shows they're making in Korea and in the Asian market are vastly superior and of a really good quality. And Big Bet, I would place in terms of tone somewhat. People don't like direct comparisons to things like Breaking Bad or The Sopranos, but it's certainly in that ballpark in terms of ambition and tone, albeit in a more compressed manner, because this is a show that's 2 seasons long. Now, I really want to keep this as spoiler-free as I can, but I suspect there isn't going to be more than 2 seasons. Let's put it that way. It is extremely interesting. So it's basically a story of a Korean orphan who grows up in the 50s and then gradually makes his way into fame and power through sheer dint of hard work, smarts, and charm and influence and various other things, and eventually ends up being a casino mogul in the Philippines. So that's the bare bones of the plot. As you saw from the trailer, there is a lot of murder, intrigue, violence, betrayal, greed, friendship, loyalty, very, very great deal of dramatic elements in these 16 episodes. Done with all that Korean style and entertainment value that they're so good at these days, in a way that Western entertainment is just not. This is a show that sets out to entertain, to thrill, to engross, to get you to know and love and or hate the characters, and is not laden full of messages, let's put it that way, other than the real life messages that some things are good and some things are bad, and some people are good and some are bad and some are in between. It stars one of the biggest stars in Korea and some other, and it has a fantastic cast of, if you watch a lot of Korean stuff, there's very, very, very many actors in this, couple popping up in smaller or larger roles that are in lots of other great Korean movies and TV shows. It's a lot of fun for us spotting the ones we'd seen and other things that we'd loved. But the principal star of Big Bet is this guy. So Choi Min-sik. Choi Min-sik, I guess, is one of the 3 or 4 top South Korean actors. He's been in movies since the 90s. He is, again, I'm not comparing him in style, but in terms of impact and legend, he's up there with the De Niros and the Pacinos from a South Korean perspective. And this was actually the first TV series he'd done in 26 years. And as you notice, the director is the same guy who directs a film called The Outlaws, which I'm going to talk a little bit about later. Another fantastic, that and its follow-up, The Roundup, brilliant movies. So Choi Min-sik has been a big star in Korea for 25, 30 years. So for the producers to get him into this role was a bit of a coup, I'd have to say. So he first made an appearance, I believe it was his first movie, in a movie called Shiri in 1999, Shiri, Shiri, where he played a rogue North Korean agent, hell-bent on destroying a peace initiative between the two Koreas. And I have to say, it was a kick-ass role. He was charismatic, menacing, absolutely looked the part, just brilliant. Shiri also featured a couple of other actors who are have gone on to do other things, but we'll come back to that. In fact, no, let's talk about that now. So just let me see if I've got the right images here. Should really prepare more, eh? So yeah, the Shiri. Just give me 1 second here. It's Choi Min-sik's first major starring role, and the other main star that you may have seen in many other films is a guy called Song Kang-ho, who was in films like Joint Security Area, Snowpiercer, Parasite, Taxi Driver, and just generally, again, has been. This is one of his first movies too. He's been one of the big stars in Korean movies. So that was a good start for Choi Min-sik. But a lot of people in the West will know him from this movie, Old Boy, made in 2003, where he played the leading role. And if you've ever seen this movie, it's a pretty hard movie to take, and I'm not necessarily going to talk about the Western remake with Josh Brolin, but there are some themes in here that we certainly wouldn't want to talk about even on Rumble. But it's a crazy movie, but made him a bit of an international star. Love the hairdo, or is it a hair don't? But the other movie, one of the other movies that I absolutely love him for, is a movie which was released in 2014 called The Admiral, Roaring Currents. And this is, to date, the largest grossing Korean movie of all time. It's a historical drama. It's not only the largest grossing, it's had the most bums on seats in Korea, and indeed for a Korean movie worldwide anywhere. I think it grossed something like $140 million US eventually. 17.6 million cinema admissions in South Korea alone, which is a nation of 60 million people. And it's a historical drama about a naval battle in 1597, where the Japanese, it was their second naval invasion of the last, in that period, within the space of a few years. And it's about Admiral Yi Sun-sin, who is played by Choi Min-sik here, and about his battle against the Japanese Navy with 12 ships at his disposal, and they had over 300. There is some debate about the historical veracity of the battle. In fact, there's a very good documentary made by the people who made the film about it, and following the route that the Admiral took to get to his base in time to launch an attack on these Japanese ships, which would have reinforced their army and would have made the total capture of Korea at the time. So it's a huge historical piece of pride in Korea, this battle. Once again, they resisted the Japanese invaders. Battle of Myeongyang, I think it is. But anyway, he starred in this as the Admiral, and as I say, biggest movie of all time in Korea. Great movie, love it. So he plays Cha Woo-sik in Big Bet, he's this guy who's some more scenes from the Admiral. Very fantastic historical detail in the costumes and the battles, and it really thrilling movie. You also might have seen him in Lucy, where he made an appearance, which is one of the Western films he's been in. But his character in Big Bet, Cha Woo-sik, he grows up a poor orphan in 1950s Korea, just after the Korean War. Hard struggle life, but he uses his skills and talents to start businesses, makes a lot of friends, eventually falls into the gambling world. Good things happen, bad things happen. And like many Koreans, eventually he gravitates towards the Philippines, because in the Philippines, they can build casinos. Rich Koreans can go there to spend money, which can be laundered, etc., etc. And a part of this is based upon a real story. So he plays Cha Woo-sik, who's kind of, again, some people would argue this comparison, is kind of a Tony Soprano figure. He's not all good, he's not all bad, he's very charismatic, he's very loyal to those he considers to be his friends, and in fact, one or two of the characters he treats like they're his sons in this. And he goes through a lot of ups and downs in this, gets accused of murder, falsely accused in some instances, and so on. And the Korean authorities are out to get him. There's Filipinos that he works with that turn on him, and so on. Very thrilling stuff. But a great character. He's just loaded with charisma. Now you can see he's a middle-aged guy with a bit of a gut, not a muscular guy, but he exudes that force that allows him to command people in this as he builds this empire from scratch. So fantastic performance, really worthwhile. A great leading role from a great leading man. I've just lost touch with the chat there. Sorry, fill it up again. Yeah, Koreans have been killing it. War of the Arrows is on my list, EC. It's on my, actually, literally on my watch list, and I'm working my way towards it. That looks really good as well. Actually, last night I just watched a Korean movie, Fists of Legend. It was really good, with a couple of guys I really like in it. Hwang, star of Veteran, various other actors I like. So, also starring in Big Bet are 3 or 4 other really well-known guys, or certainly well-known to me. First of those is a guy called Suk-ku, or Suk-ku Son, as he prefers to be called in westernized ways, because in Korea the first name is backwards, and yeah. First name last, last name first. He's an actor that we've, Mrs. Rockfan and I have really grown to like the last few years. He plays a Korean detective called Oh Sang Hoon in Big Bet, who goes to Korea, goes from Korea to the Philippines to work with the authorities there to try and get some of these Korean criminals sorted out. First show we saw him was the Korean version of Designated Survivor, where he played the young chief of staff in it. Then he's in a great show that's going into a season 2 soon called DP, which is a Korean drama about military police searching for deserters, because in Korea there's still a draft. Everyone has to do their 2 years, but a lot of guys desert because of various reasons, good and bad. He is the commander of a small team of military police, themselves draftees, who have to go looking for these guys and bring them back. His character's a bit of a shit in this. I won't give anything away because he's really just a career ladder climber. Doesn't really give too much of a shit about the job and the people under him. But he's also a great actor, so he's really, really fun to see in it. So DP, great show. First season was fantastic. Second season will be out soon. It's a Netflix show, bizarrely. It's really good. Check that out. He's also, though, a very effective and brutal villain in The Roundup, which is Dom Lee's sequel to The Outlaws, which we mentioned earlier. The Beast Cop. Dom Lee is just like a force of nature in these. Big Bet is produced and directed by the same team that made these two movies, Roundup and The Outlaws. And in Roundup, Suk-ku is the villain. For some reason, Mrs. Rockfan really likes this guy, and I have no idea why. I just don't get it, you know. But he's just awesome as the villain in this. Like a psychotic, but with charm, which is always the best psychotic. And as I say, in Big Bet, he plays a cop, Korean cop, sent to the Philippines to work in a Filipino town, partly to look after the crime. There's a Korean community there, businesses, and they're always getting crimes committed on them, partly to sort that out, but partly he's looking to catch guys like Choi Min-sik, some of the big money launderers and tax evaders and murderers and whatever that are in that Filipino casino world. So that's his secret mission. He befriends, in one of the key relationships in the movie, befriends a Filipino cop called Mark, and it's really great buddies. Won't give any more away than that, but it's actually one of the more emotional parts of the movie, of the show. So another guy that's really good in it is Lee Dong-hwai, who plays Yang Young Pal, who works for Cha Moo-sik, and Cha Moo-sik kind of treats him like a son. You know, he's kind of brought him up from just the street to being like his right-hand man. He's a great actor as well, and he plays a really conflicted part in this because he loves Cha Moo-sik, but he's forced by circumstances to turn against him. So there's betrayal. It's very Shakespearean. He's been in some movies I really enjoyed. He was in Designated Survivor with Suk-ku, but he's also in 2017's Confidential Assignment in a supporting role. If you've never seen this movie and its sequel, there's a great buddy spy action movie, not buddy cop, with Hyun Bin, who's another huge star in Korea, and Yoo Hee-jin. Very funny, very great movies. And then another guy you may have seen in Big Bet is a guy called Hyo Sung-tae, who I mentioned earlier was in The Admiral as well. The Fortress, which is a link to Reiichi Sakamoto. He's obviously been well known for Squid Game, and he's also been in The Outlaws, which is the Dom Lee movie you just mentioned. A movie called The Swindlers with Hyun Bin, which is really good, and another great movie called Rampant. If you've never seen that, EC, you guys are into this stuff. Watch Rampant, really good. And generally, it's a great cast, a lot of great locations and scenes. There's intrigue. It's got Shakespearean moments. There's some real shitheads in it. There's some really great people in it. It's absorbing, entertaining. Can't recommend it highly enough. great show. So check out Big Bet. Fantastic stuff.